Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Chess with Mr. Tim. I know you've been on the edge of your seats waiting for the next one. Anyway, this week we're going to learn about one more rule in chess, too. And there's a couple more lessons, too, in our curriculum that we're going to be learning about sportsmanship and different other important parts of playing the game as well. But, our last few weeks, we've been learning about different ways to make the game easier for your team, getting your pieces in the right positions, castling so you can protect your king, and of course we spend a long time on how all the pieces move. So this brings us to something a little bit different this week, and it's something that mostly happens towards the end of a chess game. So once a lot of pieces have been captured, have been moved out of the way, that is when we start to see this important rule come into play in a game. So let's start off with our story this week, and then for the first time, we're going to do what's called a chess puzzle as well, and think about a specific way to make a move. This week's story features King Spassky instead of King Fischer. I know we've done a lot of King Fischer ones lately. So King Spassky was having a nice, quiet snooze in his pillow castle, of course. He was dreaming of playing with his kids. When he woke up, he got out of his pillow bed, went down his pillow stairs, went out his pillow front door, and he pulled out his pillow cell phone and sent text to all of his children. And he let them all know that he wanted to have them at the chessboard for a race for all the pawns. So one by one, the pawns all came and lined up in front of King Spassky on their spot on the board. King Spassky got all ready, and he said, okay, on your mark, get set, go. And the pawns started taking their turns and racing across the field. Right off the bat, one of the fastest pawns was one of them, a little boy, I think his name was Max. And he jumped out to an early lead. Some of the other pawns tried to catch up, but none could. So Max easily won the race. When Max got to the end of the chessboard, he turned around and said, yeah, I won the race. What do I get for a prize? King Spassky decided that Max was right. Okay, Max, you won the race, and you do deserve a prize. And here it is. You can turn into whatever piece you choose, except for the king. By the way, if you haven't been here for chess before, that's King Spassky's voice. You might remember it, so that was a surprise. Sorry, I don't think I've done that yet. You can turn into a bishop, a knight, a rook, or you can even turn into a pawn or a queen. Max didn't think too long about his choice because he wanted to be the most powerful piece. I want to be transformed into a queen because she's the most powerful piece. And so that is what happened. King Spassky nodded his head, waved his hand, boop, Max was transformed into a queen. But the race wasn't over yet. The other children were still racing. Another pawn named Tiffany was also rushing toward the end of the board. Soon she reached the finish line too. I made it to the finish line. Do I get a prize? King Spassky said, I think you do too. And she could transform into any piece as well. Tiffany thought about it for a minute. She said, well, I want to be a queen too. King Spassky waved his hand and Tiffany turned into another queen. Now the black team had two queens on the board. Makes them really powerful, right? Make their team really good if you can do that. The rest of the pawns finished the race, turning into different pieces. The most popular choices were the queen and the knight. That day, King Spassky found out that he could have as many queens as he wanted at one time. Now, let's go back to that. Why do you think the two most popular choices would be the queen and the knight? And why not the rook or the bishop? Here's why. Because the queen already has all the same moves as the rook and the bishop put together, right? So if you have both of them in one, you just take the one piece that can do both. And for the most part, that would be the way you want to do it. You wouldn't want to turn into a pawn because that's the weakest piece, and you couldn't even go anywhere because you can only move forward. And then the other option would be the knight. Now, the knight would be for really special situations because you might want his type of moves and his ability to jump and gallop, step to the side, across the board. So you might need that instead of a queen sometimes. So the trick to that is you really have to look around and know what you need to try to win the game and capture the other team's pieces and their king. Next up, we have a little chess puzzle. You haven't done one of these before. A chess puzzle is an exercise for thinking about your board positions and the way the pieces are on the board, and to practice in different ways at different parts of the game. So rather than starting at the beginning of the game, maybe you practice some moves and some situations that could happen at the end of the game instead, or the middle of the game. So this one is one that might happen at the end of a game. We're gonna take a little walk over to our board, okay? Sound good? All right, ready? Here we go. Here we go. We're looking down. I think we can see everybody, right? Okay, so we can see our whole chessboard here. And I'm gonna sneak down here too and join us. So at the end of our board, we have our white team a little bit closer to the camera here. And we see our white team in this corner has 2 pawns and the king remaining. That's all they have left. Their other pieces have been captured or gone from the game. Over here, we have our black team. And the black team has a king and a queen. That's it. It's just date night left. So they only have 2 pieces here. And finally, in the middle is this last white pawn. So if you count them all together, we have 3 pawns left on the white team along with the king. Now, it's the white team's turn in this part of the game. So a couple things are going to happen here. The pawn has their next turn, and the pawn is about to reach the end of the board. This is the place where King Spassky just discovered that everyone can turn into a different piece. If a pawn reaches it, can turn into a piece of their choice. And we talked about what the best choices are, right? What were they? Do you remember? All right, a queen or a knight. So when we get to the end of this board, our pawn is going to have a chance to choose what it turns into. So now you might think to yourself, you would always want to be the most powerful piece, right? You'd want to be the queen. But there's something special about this time that would make you want to choose a different piece. Something's going to happen here. When this pawn moves into this end spot, you have to know the moves of your pieces. It's really important because if you turn into a queen, your queen can go straight out this direction, straight out this direction, straight this way, or it can go diagonal in either of those directions. In this case, it would be on the white squares to start. But if you choose a different piece, you can create a special situation that we like to call a fork. Now it's about lunchtime here now, so I'm kind of getting hungry, so this makes me think about food. So I'm usually thinking about food. I don't know what that says about me. But a fork is when you have an opportunity to capture, or trap 2 different pieces. So if this pawn, instead of turning into a queen, turns into a knight, we can create a fork in this position. Because by doing a gallop, gallop, step to the side, we would be able to reach the king. And by doing a gallop, gallop, step to the side, we would also be able to reach the black queen. So that would give us a choice when it's our turn and force the black team to make another choice. And what they always have to do is save their king. And their queen can't get you. So the best move here is the power move, is to do that, turn into a knight, force them to move their king, and get him to safety. And then you're able to capture their queen and move on with the rest of the game towards capturing this king and putting him in checkmate. So like I said, that situation where you can choose between capturing 2 pieces or putting someone in check is called a fork. Next week, we're going to talk a little bit about sportsmanship and some different rules to the game of chess and how to treat them as we learn to play. But this week, we had our story about King Spassky racing his pawns to the very end where they transformed into a different piece once they reach it. And we also learned about a fork here in our chess puzzle at the end of the lesson. Looking forward to talking to you guys soon, maybe even in person. Who knows? Wouldn't that be fun? See you soon, pre-K. See you soon, kindergarten. Bye, guys.